Quasi here. Today's interview is kind of crazy. It's with Rich Rios, one of our longest clients, I would say. He's been with us for over 3, 4 years now. And Rich is a combat veteran who's been struggling with some real challenges: ADHD, PTSD, trauma from combat. And what he has noticed was over the past few decades, he spent well over $20,000 in different coaching programs and mentorships from known names like Tony Robbins, right? And what he noticed was he was never able to complete any of those that he went through because of these challenges that he'd been having until he joined our reality mastery program and actually made the identity shift. Now, Rich has launched a completely new mission. He's become a leader in our community. I really, really urge you to watch this in full, because if you've ever felt like you're smart, like you're capable, but you feel stuck behind this invisible wall, then this one is going to really, really resonate with you. So let's jump right in and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks.
Well, I've been in a lot of programs. I think I've done self-development my whole life. When I was younger, I had done Anthony Robbins, some of
Okay.
his stuff, but his stuff is expensive as well. And something I didn't realize then, because there wasn't a lot of knowledge about it. I'm a little bit older than I look, but ADHD. I wasn't experiencing the symptoms as bad. Went through the military, through combat, and through just different things that I had went through, traumatic brain injuries, things like that. They were starting to have an effect on my cognitive abilities. Now, on paper, it looks good. I can go to school and I can do all kinds of stuff, and I have high rank and everything like that. But they were starting to hit me as I was getting older, especially in my later 30s. But the ADHD, I wasn't able to remain consistent despite as hard as would try. I would pay for programs and then I'd fall off them. I would say with Quasi's program, the reality creator, what kind of it was always in the back of my mind to return. I always wanted to come back. I always wanted to be able to work with other people. And it inspired, probably another reason why college was so hard was because I was also starting another business also on school called Military Mindset, which models military, all the it's like ADHD plus the military. It's a intensive program, but it was a massively inspired by Reality Creator. And I think this time I was successful. I tried something like that 3 times and I failed. So I would say that with his program and with the interaction and probably the community as well, and they have cool perks. I like the little perks. I don't really need any, but I like them. They're fun and they're interesting. But yeah, and just I meet positive, energetic people, and yeah, I am trying to yeah. So I would say that this is one of the main programs that I actually completed and that I was successful on, and that I was able to make something out of it. I was able to produce something out of it. The other ones, you in my garage, and you'll find. I'm almost embarrassed to admit this, but easily probably at least probably $20,000 easy worth of program self-development, and some I just never even finished, some I never worked on fully, some I never completed. So
Yeah.
this one, I'm not saying it's ADHD proof, but I got through it. So yeah. So in other programs, you don't. There's no helping really anybody. I mean, you could put a supportive word, high five, way to go. But no, most of the programs I were in when I was in were mostly entrepreneurial or high performance, self
Mm.
development, kind of discipline type things. I liked reaching out to other people because after I retired, I actually switched back into the military again in a different promotion program because I had my degree then. So I'm still technically in the military. And again, with the hypnotherapy, a lot of the problems that I saw that I know Quasi in reality creator, they don't have time to address every single person's issue. That's just, it would be impossible. But sometimes I could see like a subconscious block, or I could see a block. And because I have a therapeutic background, I got to a good opportunity to be able to help people to use it, to be able to get people, they don't see the problem, and I can see it like a mile in advance, and I could see it because I see it and I do this all the time. And so when I'm helping them out, if they take the advice and if they move forward on it, well, then they are able to critically, get past a point where they could spend years talking to a therapist and get nowhere. And
Yeah.
so, with my background, I want to help people out and I like helping people out. So therapy, that's one of my callings in life, and people are receptive to it. People are positive. usually depending where they're at in life, and sometimes they can use it to get more progress either through Quasi's program or in their own life.
Yeah, absolutely. Before you joined the program, or maybe as soon as you joined the program, actually, what were some of the maybe the invisible ceilings or the limitations that you were hitting at that time that you were just like, I can't go past this, and I feel like kind of stuck here? Like before the program even started, what were some of those hard-hitting beliefs or ingrained beliefs that you were feeling that maybe transformed later, but just kind of take us back to that point?
So some of the beliefs that I was stuck on, one of the most dangerous things that I know to this day is you don't know what you don't know. And
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there's a lot of implications with that is because it also, well, then where do you go? What do you do? All the quantifiables you don't know. It's like, well, how much? And so I was definitely uncertain on that. And what I could say is Quasi was one of the more successful people. I've never met him, but in his program, he is one of the more successful people out there. And he gave stories and he gave ideas that bridged the gap. Out on the outside, they're like, oh, well, you make a business and you make and you market and you market and market. You could go dead broke doing that, and you could be bottomed out. And it's happened to me twice. So there's not much of a middle gap. And what I think is that he gives exercises that aren't just stuck in the metaphysical. I mean, you get a metaphysical and you go nowhere too. And it's just like, well, yes, you keep your vision, but then also you take these steps. So I had a general idea on that, but I wasn't successful that in the way that I wanted to be. I couldn't. I'm getting there now, thank God. But yeah, it wasn't. It just wasn't happening. And so he taught. And what I think I would say is he taught persistence with intelligence versus just
Yeah.
persistence because you can go broke, and I've done it. It's not fun. It's very, very painful. And if you already had like trauma from having a bad background or poor in the past, all that'll do is it'll cause havoc. It's like setting your life on fire.
Was now I'm curious, was there ever a moment that you doubted that this program would actually work for you?
Oh yeah, lots of moments too, especially with a psychological background. Yeah, absolutely. And so yes, I did. And when like some of the thing was is because what I would do is I would compare. It's like, well, this is the scenario. This is kind of because I like creating formulas. I'm like, okay, well, here's the formula of what it is and what it says, and then here's how it works. Now, how much we started getting into, well, how much and quantities and things like that. But I was able to kind of I was able to reposition myself better with his information, meaning I was able to launch off. So in other words, I was able to take the information that he had and I was able to do more research on my own and then make it what I would say is even more workable because different people are in different areas in their life. And it's like, well, how much stuff is in their background? How much habits do they have? How much, trauma do they have? Is it in their physical body? It's a holistic process. So when I did the research on that, it's not all 100% reality transurfing. You could do if you work with any of my clients, you'll see real quick, and then they're not transurfing anything. So,
Yeah.
but at the same time, this I think was a really good launching board, and it gave me like my compass north. I was able to go in that direction, and I was able to continue my own research and continue my own journey, my own path. And then I've gotten much better and more clearer ideas on, oh, I think I know how it works now.
Yeah. So you mentioned that there was a moment where you were able to reposition or essentially reframe things due to the modules and all of those things. So was there like maybe a specific module, a concept, or maybe a Q&A call with Quasi or a call that we've had, inside of the group that hit you and kind of struck something inside of you where things actually clicked?
Well, I'll have to go back and revisit my notes, and the reason for that is because I'm living it. I'm not, now once you
Yeah.
live it, it's like wearing a shirt all the time. You're like, oh, I'm wearing a shirt. I'll have to take a look, but what I would just say is that his example, I think, was what I believe was one of many things, but also he had other successful people on there who weren't successful. I think the guy Leanne. I did a little digging to figure out what he does, but I'm just like, wow, he made a $80,000 day the other day. But yes, I get
Yeah.
it. It's not every single day, and I get it. Yeah, he put in 50,000 which I get, 30, but a 30,000 a day, I don't care who you are. That's a great week, let alone a day. So the thing is that I like that part, and I liked in years and years and years. Well, when I first got into years ago, there was a woman from the Middle East, and I remember we talked, and her situation seemed so hopeless, but she had a different mindset. She was like the master of making miracles out of nothing, and I'm talking about like I don't think they were her kids. They weren't. I don't think they were. She had five kids that were not hers that she was taking care of, and she was about to get evicted. And I've lived in the Middle East, and I can tell you it's not a place for a woman to be where things are not kind there. And man, was I just hoping and hoping for her, and sure enough, she turned it around like by that weekend. And it's like that's good stuff. That's really good stuff. So I wanted to be able to emulate that. I wanted to be able to I wanted to be able to have that in my life, and turn my own family story around. So definitely.
Yeah, we have tons of super successful people, I feel like, in the program that have been able to show examples, like Leo that you're mentioning, just for people that are watching this that don't know kind of the story behind this. Leo was, I believe, he was a waiter when he started off in Reality Mastery. He was doing some job like that where he was being paid by the hour, and that was the sort of thing. And he recently posted the story that Rich mentioned just now, where he made an 80K day, which was like about 30,000 something out of profit in just one day. And that's just one of the inspiring stories that we have inside of the program that inspire people just like Rich or any other person. It inspired me as well. And I think that based on what you're mentioning, it's like community has been one of the most pivotal shifts for you, would you say?
Absolutely. I think it gives me something to look forward to. Not that I'm trying to necessarily be on the leaderboard, but I do like participating in something that's a little bit every day. And there's people there who are very likable. So and then it's international too, which is like it's mind blowing to me because but it shouldn't be, but it is. It's just like people are around the world. I'm talking, to people just like across the world all the time. And yeah, I think it was the YouTube. It was the YouTube eventually that kind of steered me there. So yeah, a lot of his
Yeah.
stuff was on that program on YouTube. And he gave good information. It was free, and I was like, wow, he's giving away such good information for free. I wonder what else, and then what his program has. And so his program definitely delivered, it took what we took on YouTube, the free good stuff, and then it added on to it. So it's like you have good from the YouTube, and then you also have his program, and it's like you combine them. There shouldn't be too many reasons to fail. I'm not saying it's fail proof, but man, it's a lot better than I'd say most of the stuff that's out there, and especially stuff I paid for. I would say the 2.0 part of myself was when I started to do maybe the public announcements because it was a form of a commitment. It's like when I'm on the boards and when I talk about the victories that I have, after a while, they weren't just things that I was talking about. They're like, hey, this is who I am. This is the type of person that I am. This is the things that I do. I'm not just Rich 1.0. I had a pretty good history of accolades, but it's like, no, I'm Rich 0.0 who's like putting myself in these uncomfortable situations and I'm seeing the world through the eyes of growth. And I guess you could say that's the 2.0 because I was able to see the world differently, maybe with newer eyes or more intelligence, maybe more experience. But let me tell you, it's definitely reassuring, especially when times get hard to have those new lenses, as we say in the field.
Yeah, and what do you feel like allowed you, maybe from the program or not, to see life with those new lenses?
I was able to like break out of the moderate pattern that I was in. There was a line of cautious and playing it safe, and I just it was consistent uncomfortable stretches that I was able to keep pulling and pulling and eventually when I was stretching myself and taking the risks and because I mean success, life, everything's a risk, even being alive is a risk, and as you said earlier, as that individual, that's a pretty big risk to put. But that's kind of like the thing that I like about this is because when you get to that level, that becomes your new normal, like his maybe every day the person we were speaking about, his risk is, it's a $50,000 every week just to throw on marketing. And and Quasi was doing stuff like that too. He was taking a risk with the program, he's taking a risk on YouTube, he's taking a risk with clients and with the tuition fee. It's a risk, but then that becomes your new normal. Then you stretch, get uncomfortable to the next level. It's like, okay, great. I'm not making just 50,000 now, I'm making 100,000 now, I'm making 200,000 now, I'm making half a million, 5 million, and that's your new normal. And it's not just in money, in business too, because even though a lot of us are business owners, there's people there who are like looking for a relationship or looking to
Yeah.
balance their marriage. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just going back with like, I know you mentioned some of the wins that you've shared and like the posts that you've shared as well. You've posted a lot inside of the community, just so everyone here, everyone kind of reads your posts and stuff. What were the first things that started changing externally for you? Once you started sharing those things, what were the first things that started changing externally? What were some of those wins that you were really proud to share inside of the community?
When I was dealing with like transitions, like getting out of the military, that was my whole life for the most part. That was like what am I going to do with myself? And then being able to put take a stand and like, well, I'm going to do this. And then in over time, one thing I definitely could say was that I had these very large, like impossibly large goals. And when I was in the program, what I was noticing is they were happening. They were happening. And they were happening before, but it was like it was very uncertain. And
Yeah,
as I was starting to get in there, my plans, the large goals that I was having, they were starting to go from like, well, I don't know, it's kind of wishy-washy, and I hope, I wish, I dream, to, well, hey, we have a plan, and hey, the plan, we're working the heck out of it, but sometimes it's like we get thrown a bone here and there, and all this work we're doing, it's going somewhere. It's no longer just a fantasy. It's no longer such an uncertainty. It's gaining momentum. It's stacking. It's adding. Now, I mean, it wasn't a perfect linear path, obviously, but yeah, as I say before, I have these massive goals, and they're getting knocked off pretty amazingly quick,
yeah. I think
impressively
one of the
quick.
biggest wins for you and what I see inside of the community is just your constant perspective shifts and also your ability to share it with other people, which is amazing. Just kind of telling people like, okay, this is what I did, this is what I did in the beginning, this is where I'm at right now. All of those things are leading you to where you are at right now. So if you could like maybe list out your two or three top wins from this journey since you started in 2023 to now, what would those be?
I would say one, being able to get that free tuition and then graduating with a master's degree. The tuition, God, it was like $140,000. It was a lot for 18 months of school. It was insanely expensive. So that was like a massive win because it kind of just dropped in my lap. And I would say another really good massive win is, and there's more than just that, but here another one is starting a business. Like I already have businesses, I have a real estate business, I have a hypnotherapy practice, but I was able to work with one of the other members, and they're helping me with the marketing. But my business it's taking off, and again, it was one of those things. It was a dream, but
Yeah.
now in theory, if it keeps going the way that I hope it's going and the way it looks like it's going to go in 2 years, I'll be working just because for fun almost.
Yeah.
So that's like it looks that way. The projections are good.
Yeah. Can you expand a little or elaborate a little bit more on like how was this before, like this is situation with your business compared to where it is right now? So do you feel a little bit more effortless? How has it changed from when you started to where you're at right now, kind of possibly thinking about I'm just gonna do it for fun down the line if it goes the way it goes.
So I would say that a lot of my life and a lot of my career, it's been a struggle. It's almost all struggle, and then money just was not coming to me. And what I would say is that through this experience, I was able to figure out, for lack of better terms, let's just say like the formula, or I was able to figure out what's supposed to happen. So the amount of angst, the amount of emotional ups and downs, the amount of just chaos, it still happens, but I'm more calmer about it. I'm more stable about it. I'm able to make moves and decisions in completely unknown environments, in completely unknown scenarios. And now what I would say is that I generally 90% of the time can turn the situation so that I come out on top. And before it was more like being thrown by the wind. So I've been able to get more confidence in highly unknown situations and in highly unknown environments. And now the hits, they don't hurt anywhere near as much. They don't last as long. And so now I'm moving faster. I'm moving with momentum and speed.
Yeah. So it's a skill that you basically acquired now that you can use for absolutely any other situation that's thrown your way because you've acquired this kind of like the skill set or these tools maybe to be able to go through these things.
Yes. So basically with the core stuff, it was on the on school, and it was more of a conceptualization. It was like, okay, I think I see it, I think I know it, I think, and then now after doing it and working it and experiencing it and living it, now you could say I'm embodying it, or it's part of me, or that, like, yeah, you could say that the like this power, if you would, I carry it with me all the time now. And as I do, things are happening way faster. Obstacles are getting broken through, unknown situations, projections. It's just like, well, you know, what's going on? Let's figure out what we do. And my opinion is that if somebody takes a course and keeps going through it multiple times, and I think they should too, that they will keep growing when they're stretching themselves. Whatever they were doing the first time, it definitely won't be the same the third or the fourth time. They'll be stretching themselves in ways that cause massive growth. And then any fear, any inhibition, or any doubts and any worries, those will be lesser and lesser to a point where they're living their whole self. 2.0 is the term he uses, but I think it goes higher than that.
Yeah. If we could use a scale from 1 to 10, right? So when you started, your level of expansion, your level of skills compared to where you are at right now, how would you rate each of those?
Good one. That's a tough one. I'd say at least 30%, but that's hard to even say because that's 30% like holistically. It wasn't just my money. It was my money. It was my confidence. It's my direction. It's my resolve. It's my persistence. It's my determination. Standing in my full self. You could even say standing up for myself in
Yeah.
situations, and then taking my time back, taking control of my world, living actively. And I think a lot of people don't do that. I think there's so much fear, which I'm not sure where it comes from, but it's definitely there. I wouldn't be so booked if it wasn't. There's a lot of fear out there, and the thing is that people, they're living these half lives, and that's the scariest thing to me in the world. Is just like, we have this potential, two legs, yeah, whatever, and it just takes knowledge and application, and after that, eventually you could have something like the life of your dreams, God willing. But the catch is that it's always better to have a path that's well walked and is accurate, and won't take you on some journeys where you don't need to be at. But yeah, and I would say that that's what this has given me. So I always wish I had even more time to jump head back in, head first and go and do it. And so I just revisit it when I can, and then I take what I can as much as I can, and then build my life with that.
Yeah. With all these expansions that you've had and like being able to increase the levels of discomfort and the levels of just expansion that you've had, was there ever a moment, I'm just again curious, that maybe someone around you or people around you noticed that something had changed in you?
Oh, I think so. I think maybe not one person, but a lot of people. And the reason for that was I'm in a military environment, so I'm surrounded by hundreds of people, sometimes thousands. And if they haven't seen me in a while, I was already doing well. But like nowadays when they see me, it's their reaction surprises me. Something kind of cool and interesting. And I could definitely say that it was definitely one of the many lessons that Quasi had said is I had wanted to be a military officer for I don't even know how many years, easily at least 10, maybe more. And I was working, and you could even say to the point I was overqualified. I was training them, I was training
Yeah.
officers, and then that was like one of my goals on my checklist. And it happened a year ago, and like somebody had helped me, and it was so easy. It was like a 2 week paperwork process, which is fast, and like one phone call, two conversations. And like despite all the years of effort and pounding and working at it, I couldn't. There was people, too many people in place, too many people involved, too much stuff in the way. And then I was working it for years, and I couldn't make any progress. And that was one of my, I could say, one of my biggest accomplishments. That one of those life bucket list checklist things that I wanted really badly, and I got it. I got it, and I was just like extremely grateful. But it was really nice to to have the knowledge. If I didn't go through the course, I don't know what I would have been done. Might have been discouraged. I might have just like had screw it. But now where I'm at, it's like any struggles that come for the most part that it doesn't even matter what they are. Whatever struggles I go through now in the future, I have a like a bird's eye view on that. And then also I
Yeah.
have enough experience to know what to do and how to do. There's a saying that I have that everything is scary, complex, or difficult the first few times. And definitely I live by that. And it does seem still true. It seems extremely true. So I think I've gotten to a point where if those things type of happen, I know that with my skills, whether it's the creativity or the resourcefulness or the people skills, that it almost doesn't matter, that I'll be able to outlast it. I'll be able to overcome it. I'll be able to survive it. And no matter what, that I know of everything. I have the talent and the skill to be able to make it all right, good in whatever way that looks like. So before the unknown, it's like, well, what do I got? And it's like, well, I got an idea, and that's about all I have. So yeah, but that's you can't buy that confidence. I have wealthy clients all the time, and they're afraid for tomorrow, and it's just like, well, it's there's this doesn't build itself organically. It takes tempering, it takes building and development.
Yeah, and you've done that for yourself. Your philosophy of life has changed because of the work that you've put into it, the work that you put into this program, the work that you put into yourself, of course. And I feel like at this point, you're optimistic about the future. You've done some great goals already. You've completed a lot of those things in your bucket list, as you mentioned. And now I kind of want to get into just you being in this program for what, 2 years at this point. What would you say, just you personally, to someone that is skeptical about joining the program, that is just maybe stuck or is feeling skeptical about, joining reality mastery and doesn't know, what to do?
What I would say, what I would definitely say is we spend a lot of time and a lot of money on a lot of things out there, and a lot of it doesn't produce things. A lot of it doesn't. And I understand that if they're new to this, or if they're short on money or what have you, that this could seem intimidating, and I understand that part. What I would say though is this gives you the correct direction at least. It's not going to walk the path for you, but it will point you in the better direction. You can take all this material and you expand on it, just like you would in college. That you can't learn everything in
Mm-hmm.
college, but they give you the curriculum, and then you take it and you get to be your own subject matter expert. But I would say is that it gives you a direction, and it also gives you support through the community. The community people there are relatively very supportive, and sometimes they'll even call you out when you are not, when you're not holding space for your higher self. And we're all human too, so I get it. And most of them are encouraging too, so you get a little bit of both. What I would say is that it creates a model and a pattern for you to be successful. And from a lot of the programs that I've seen out there, is that this is better and supportive. Like there's calls almost every week to help support if you get stuck. Another one's like, yeah, hey, it's gonna cost you another $200 every you visit, and that can get old real quick. So what I would just say is that almost like anything, literally anything that you do have to, if you want to develop, it requires building and stretching. What I would say is take the money aside, save your money, but do the time. And if there was a piece of advice that I could say for somebody is that carve out the space, the football games, the Netflix, the kids' parties, all of that stuff will generally be there later. But like creating a true space for yourself, a real space, and not no BS or not no excuses and not halving it, but to really dedicate yourself to the course and to really, really working it like you would at the gym. You work it, and it's going to work back for you. But to do that and and in my opinion, it'll work for you. It might cause even good chaos. You may find out who's in your life, who's really
Yeah.
supportive of you or not. And it's better to find that out sooner than later. But yeah, I think they really should take that space and the time. And from other programs that I could say out of there, I wish I could refund about almost all of them for this one, and maybe like an equivalent or at least a style the way this one came out for business as well, but it wasn't around when the other ones were. So
Yeah, you've had some really deep transformational changes in here, and I feel like someone maybe listening to this on the fence or not knowing, like maybe your same exact situation when you started, could probably ask, what has, if you could say one thing, what has made your transformation so deep and long lasting, and so much so that it's like natural to you now?
what I would say is that the continuous searching to develop myself and to use to see it as a journey and not a destination. Like if
Yeah,
I lived to be 90 years old, I would like to be in a course like this or any other course. And just keep developing myself, keep building, keep having, and then turn around and keep sharing.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're almost done with this interview, but just for a little wrap up, thank you first for sharing all this information. I feel like it's going to be very, very valuable for people that, are just entering in, or people that are interested in seeing successful people like you that have gone through the program, that share so many things in the community and all those things. Do you have any final thoughts, words of maybe encouragement, advice for someone watching at this moment, this interview, and just wondering at this time? Any final words or encouragement?
They definitely do. Even in the individuals within the group, you get to learn about yourself and what kind of person you are by your commitment to sticking with the program. Those who quit, if they quit this, they quit on themselves and they quit in life, and they might come back later and they'll admit it. They're like, yeah, I messed up. And just the thing is time is kind of unforgiving, but you can get the time back, but you can't. The habit building of sticking with something all the way through, that's an advanced skill. And I can't. What I would tell people is once they get in, this is that most of the value, in my opinion, definitely comes from being able to stick with this program and to work it out because you're developing yourself, and it's not just you're developing knowledge, you're developing the not quitting habit, which is it's rampant here in America and probably the world too. But it's just quitting and stuff just because it's hard, or quitting because it's challenging, or quitting because you don't love it or you're bored. It just if I had $1 every time I heard somebody say, "Oh well, it's not a fit," but it's like brother, sister, there ain't nothing in your life that's fit. You're a dabbler and you jump from one thing to the next, and if it's not the instant gratification, but we all know that flash in the pan results they're usually not good. They usually have a very ugly ending. And why go into circles when just join a program just for the skill in itself of committing to something that will give back to you.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's something that I tell people all the time. You come in here, it's not a fix that's just like a band-aid, like it's gonna be done. You have to get into the work. You have to actually do it. And I feel like you are a true testament to someone that has gone through the work probably a couple times and has talked to people in the community and all those things that has been able to get results out of it. And I think that again, people that are watching this are going to be truly inspired by these words, but also more so, I feel like you shared a lot about encouragement and how you went through the process specifically and the wins that you had. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on here with me talking about this whole, journey, because it's been a journey probably for some ups and downs, but you're one of the, like, just for context here, you're one of the people that share the most in the community. You're always kind of like at the top of the leaderboards and stuff. And I know that that's genuinely because you like to share, you really like to just help people, right? That's one of your missions in life. So I would just really like to thank you for that and for being part of our community.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you for joining this call today. It was amazing interviewing you. I feel like you've been one, like I said, you've been one of the members that are always posting, always super active. So I just wanted to give you the space so you could share your experience just one to one, and it was incredible. So thank you.